We are approaching a fortress in the mountains of El Salvador, a sprawling, geometric city of concrete and steel, silent and immense. But this is no city for the living. This is CECOT, the world's largest prison by capacity, built to hold 40,000 human beings. Its very existence asks us a brutal question. When a society is pushed to the brink by unimaginable violence, what is it willing to sacrifice for peace? These walls are the answer, a monument not to justice, but to finality. To enter, you must first surrender your connection to the world. 2 kilometers out, our phones go dead, silenced by military-grade jammers. This is the first rule of CECOT. Inside and outside are 2 separate realities, and you do not get to bridge them. At the gate, the ritual of erasure begins. Bodies are scanned until their skeletons appear on a screen. Wedding rings are locked away. Even the guards hide their faces behind masks, anonymous in a system where being known is a liability. This hour-long process tells you that the person who walks through the final door is leaving one world behind. The heavy door hisses open, and you are met with a sight that defies scale. Module 3, a single cavern holding 2,500 men, a sea of identical white uniforms. The air vibrates with a suppressed energy, and then you feel it, the weight of their gaze. Thousands of eyes tracking your every move. A young man with MS-13 tattooed across his forehead stares through you. Another with 3 teardrops inked beneath his eye, each one representing a life he claims to have ended. They are packed together, yet profoundly isolated. A yellow line on the floor is the only boundary between us and them. "Do not cross," our escort warns, his voice flat. "This line is the only thing between you and them." To understand their existence, you must see where they sleep. We enter a cell built for 20. It holds 80 men. The smell is dense, the space claustrophobic. 4-tier metal bunks are stacked so tightly a man can barely turn over. Each inmate is allotted half a square meter, less space than a coffin. There are no windows, no glimpse of sky or sun, just the relentless hum of fluorescent lights that never turn off. To sleep, they use state-issued towels to cover their eyes, creating a private darkness in a permanently bright hell. In the corner, 2 open toilets serve all 80 men. Next to them, open showers. There is no privacy, no dignity. This is life stripped to its barest biological function. In this place, the body becomes a permanent record. Tattoos are not art, they are a ledger, a resume of violence. Spiderwebs on the elbows mean caught in the system. Devil horns on the neck symbolize allegiance to something darker. The tattoos earned to command respect on the street now serve as the primary evidence for their eternal confinement. Here, every 2 weeks, guards shave every inmate's head and face. The hair falls to the floor in uniform piles, a ritual of enforced sameness. Among these thousands is a man known only as Psycho. We meet him in a bare room surrounded by 12 guards in full riot gear. His handcuffs are removed, a gesture of calculated trust. "How many lives have you ended?" we ask. He doesn't flinch. "More than 50, he says. He joined at 11, looking for what his poor family couldn't provide. Shoes, clothes, a father figure. The gang became his family. The initiation, he admits, required killing a relative. It was the ultimate price of belonging. But when asked about his own son, whom he hasn't seen since age 5, his voice changes. "I want to tell him, don't do what I did. Look for a good life." In that moment, the facade of Psycho cracks, and all that remains is Marvin, a father filled with a regret that has arrived decades too late. The interview ends, the handcuffs go back on, and he is swallowed back into the sea of white. For those who cannot comply, CECOT has a deeper level of hell, the isolation cell, a concrete box with a solid steel door. Inside, there is a concrete platform, a combined toilet and sink, and a small high window that lets in light but no view. Men can be confined here for 15 days in complete sensory deprivation. No sound, no human contact, nothing but their own thoughts.
It breaks them, a guard says matter-of-factly, but it is necessary for the type of people we have here. This is the end of the line, psychological dismantling for those who were once the most feared. The control here is total, architectural, and relentless. We walk the catwalks where guards with rifles watch every movement below. We see the armory, rows of weapons for quelling any disturbance. Over 1,000 cameras feed into a central control room that never sleeps. The prison generates its own power, treats its own water, can run independently for a week. The perimeter is lined with loose pebbles, an ancient alarm system where every footstep screams. This place is a machine, a perfect self-sustaining engine for the permanent containment of human problems. To understand why this machine exists, you must remember what El Salvador was. It was once the murder capital of the world, with a homicide rate of 104 per 100,000 people. Gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18 ruled neighborhoods, extorted businesses, and recruited children. Then, in 2022, the government declared war, a state of exception, mass arrests, over 70,000 people detained in just 16 months. The result was dramatic and undeniable. The homicide rate plummeted by over 90%. Streets that were war zones are now filled with families. The trade-off for this peace is here, within these walls. But this security comes with a profound and haunting question. What about the innocent? Our escort admits quietly that in a sweep this large, mistakes happen. And here, a mistake is a life sentence with no appeal, no contact, and no way for a family to even know if their son or brother is here or dead. This forces a terrible calculus. Is CECOT a necessary evil, a brutal but effective tool that saved a nation? Or is it the creation of a new kind of suffering, where human rights are the currency paid for safety? When does protection become perpetual punishment? When does justice become indistinguishable from vengeance? We drive away as the sun sets behind the walls. The searchlights begin their endless mechanical sweep. Our phones ping back to life. The world rushes in. But behind us, for the 40,000 men in white, the world has shrunk to the size of a concrete bunk. Time has stopped. Their forever has begun. The gates of CECOT close, leaving us with the echo of its unresolved contradiction. A nation's peace purchased with thousands of lifetimes of silence.
And that silence is not empty. It is filled with the low, constant tinnitus of the fluorescent lights, the distant echo of a cough from 3 tiers down, the rustle of a uniform against a metal bunk. This is the soundscape of forever. But to truly comprehend the scale of this trade, we must follow the human chain that this system touches far beyond its walls. We must drive down from these mountains, away from the fortress, and into the beating heart of San Salvador. Here, the calculus changes. The equation is no longer about space per inmate or volts in a fence. It is about a mother hanging a photograph of her missing son on a lamppost outside a government building. His crime? Being young, having the wrong friends, living on the wrong street. She has received no official notice, no court summons, only the chilling, absolute void of his disappearance. For her, CECOT is not a building, it is a black hole that has swallowed her child. Her peace is not the peace of safe streets, it is the agony of not knowing. She represents the statistical margin of error in a war against chaos, a decimal point in a policy of zero tolerance that became, in practice, a policy of infinite consequence for some. Meanwhile, just blocks away, life blooms in the absence of fear. A street vendor named Carlos, who for years paid a weekly war tax to the local clique, now keeps his earnings. He is expanding his stall, hiring his nephew. He sees the government's policy as a liberation. To him, the men in CECOT are not human mysteries. They are the former owners of his fear, and their removal is the price of his future. These two realities, the mother's despair and the vendor's hope, exist within meters of each other, both born from the same concrete complex in the mountains. They are the twin outcomes of the same decision, the beneficiary and the cost, living side by side, yet inhabiting entirely different countries of the mind. This is the true nature of CECOT's legacy. It does not create a single unified piece. It creates a mosaic of peace and profound loss, where one man's security is another woman's everlasting grief. The system's greatest efficiency is also its greatest failure. It cannot distinguish between the kingpin and the kid who was simply in the wrong place, and it has chosen not to try. It has deemed the cost of those mistakes acceptable collateral in its broader campaign. So we return to the fortress, not through its gates, but through its data. We sit with analysts in a think tank in the capital, poring over the numbers. The drop in homicides is vertiginous, a near miraculous statistical line plunging downward. Economists point to rising GDP, to new foreign investment in sectors once paralyzed by extortion. Tourism billboards now dot the airport, selling the Salvadoran Spring. The state's argument is clear, empirical, and powerful. This worked. But the analysts also show another chart, the number of habeas corpus petitions that have gone unanswered. They show the demographic data of the detained, overwhelmingly young, poor, from marginalized communities. They question what happens in 20 years when this generation of men, institutionalized and stripped of all social or vocational skills, has aged inside these walls at a cost of billions. They call it warehousing a social crisis. The policy's success is undeniable in the present tense, but its future tense is a looming, unanswered question of finance and human capital. Back inside Module 3, a different kind of future is being negotiated. Without guards or cameras to see, a subtle social ecosystem has emerged from the enforced sameness. The gang hierarchies that ruled the streets have been forced to mutate. A fragile, tense truce governs the cell blocks. Territory is no longer neighborhoods, but stretches of floor or access to the water barrel. Currency is no longer cash, but contraband salt, sugar, or information. In this world, a man like Psycho is not just an interviewee, he is a relic of an old power structure, now adapting to a new, utterly contained reality. His regret is real, but so is his ingrained authority. We see him mediate a dispute over a bunk assignment, his word carrying silent weight. He has traded one form of power for another, smaller, more desperate one. His journey from a boy seeking shoes to a killer of 50, to a father yearning for redemption, to a prison elder, is the human arc contained within CECOT's single, brutal purpose. He embodies all its phases, the conditions that created him, the violence that defined him, the policy that captured him, and the faint, flickering possibility of a change that the system itself is not designed to nurture but cannot entirely extinguish. As night falls fully, the machine enters its nocturnal phase. The searchlights carve perfect arcs through the darkness. In the control room, the shift changes. The guards on the catwalks pace their prescribed routes. And in the cells, 40,000 men lie down on their bunks. Some read tethered, state-approved religious texts by the cruel light. Others stare at the bunk above them, a hand's width from their face. Many, as always, drape towels over their eyes. This is the daily surrender, the small act of defiance against the eternal day. It is here, in this collective, silent act of creating artificial night, that a sliver of shared humanity persists. They cannot control their world, but they can, for a few hours, deny its light. The final word belongs not to us, the observers leaving the gates, but to the silence we leave behind. It is a silence that will be broken tomorrow by the same electronic door clack, the same food cart rumble, the same head count click. It is a silence purchased at an incalculable price, a silence that speaks not of absence, but of a terrible, permanent presence. CECOT stands, it functions, it achieves its designed goal with chilling precision. And in doing so, it holds up a mirror not just to El Salvador, but to any society facing the limits of its own tolerance. It asks us all, where is your line? At what point does the need for safety eclipse the commitment to justice, to redemption, to the messy, dangerous belief that people can change? The fortress offers no answer. It only echoes the question back at us, louder and louder, with every life it contains. Forever.
This new silence, this manufactured quiet that falls after lights out, is the most deceptive part of the CECOT machine. Because it is in this dark, under the towels and the watchful electronic eyes, that the true human current of the place flows unseen. The silence is a blanket thrown over a simmering, complex world of coded communication, memory, and mental survival. A man in cell 7B, bunk 4T, is not just sleeping, he is reconstructing his neighborhood in his mind, walking its streets in a dream with a precision that would shame a cartographer, visiting the ghost of his mother's kitchen, the exact crack in the pavement where he first felt like he belonged to something. This mental pilgrimage is his real escape, the only one the system cannot jam or fence in. Another man, 2 cells down, is teaching himself to read using a smuggled Bible, his finger tracing words under the dim glow of the security light that bleeds through the cell door's grate. His literacy is a silent act of rebellion against a system that views him as a finished product, a threat to be cataloged and stored. These are the invisible transactions happening in the economy of the mind, where the currency is memory, and the traded goods are fragments of a self the concrete hasn't yet crushed. But the machine is adaptive. It anticipates not just physical revolt, but psychological resilience. The very design is a continuous psychological operation. The lack of natural light isn't merely a security feature, it's a tool to atrophy the internal clock, to blur days into a meaningless continuum, making planning, the first seed of hope, impossible. The monotony of the meals, the identical white uniforms, the enforced shaves are not just about control, they are a sustained assault on individuality, a drip feed of erasure meant to convince a man he is no one, from nowhere, with nothing waiting for him. The guards on the catwalk are not just there to watch for violence, they are the ever-present embodiment of the Panopticon's central theorem that constant surveillance, or even its possibility, leads to self-regulation. A prisoner begins to guard himself. He internalizes the gaze from above until it lives behind his own eyes. The system's greatest victory is not when an inmate obeys an order, but when he gives that order to himself. Yet cracks appear in this perfect containment. They appear in the shared, knowing glance between 2 rival gang members during a head count, a flicker of understanding that their war is now irrelevant to the powers that hold them both. They appear in the covert exchange of a drawing, a bird or flower, scratched onto a piece of toilet paper and passed from hand to hand. They appear in the way news from the outside world, distorted and delayed, still filters in through a guard's careless comment or a new inmate's whispered update, becoming the most valuable contraband of all. This place, designed to be a tomb for society's problems, becomes an unintended laboratory for a raw, stripped-down form of human society. It invents its own rules, its own hierarchies based on endurance, intelligence, and the ability to maintain a shred of dignity in a system engineered to strip it away. The kingpin who ruled by fear on the outside may find his power meaningless here, replaced by the quiet influence of the inmate who has mastered the art of mending socks with a smuggled thread, or the one who can tell a story that makes others forget for 3 minutes where they are. This brings us to the core, throbbing paradox of CECOT, the one that haunts every clean line of its architecture and every clear line of its security protocol. It is a place of profound, intentional dehumanization built and operated by human beings. Consider the guard, Luis, who spends his shift walking the catwalk, his finger resting beside the trigger guard of his rifle.
At 3 p.m., he watches an inmate, no older than his own son, quietly weeping into his hands. Luis does nothing. He cannot. His job is to observe, not to console. But that image travels home with him. It sits with him at his dinner table, a silent guest. He becomes an unwilling archivist of a suffering he is paid to maintain. He too is caught in the system, his empathy a liability, his humanity a professional risk. The warden, who signs the orders for extended isolation cells, goes to church on Sunday and prays for forgiveness for the very acts his job requires. The cook, who prepares the 120,000th identical portion of beans, wonders just for a second if the man receiving it once had a favorite food. The machine is perfect, but the cogs are human, and they grind against each other with the friction of conscience. So, what is the end game? CECOT is not a temporary measure. Its concrete will outlive every man currently inside it. It is a permanent installation. This forces us to think in terms of decades, centuries. What story will these ruins tell? Archaeologists of the future will uncover this geometric puzzle and see a society that achieved a remarkable feat of social control. They will note the sophistication of the surveillance, the self-sufficiency of the infrastructure. They will likely conclude it was a response to a terrible plague or an existential threat. They will be right. The threat was internal, a violence born from generations of poverty, inequality, and fractured history. CECOT is the drastic surgery meant to cut out the cancer, but the patient's body is forever altered. The nation has chosen, explicitly, to define this generation of its young men, a significant portion of it, as a sacrificial class. They have been removed from the social body to save it. Their potential, their labor, their fatherhood, their very presence has been exchanged for the statistical peace of the majority. This is the sobering macroeconomic reality of the fortress. It is a massive social investment in non-participation. The dividends are paid out in the restored streets of the capital, in the reopened businesses, in the children playing outside. The cost is carried here, in these modules, and in the generations that will follow, who will inherit both the peace and the moral debt of how it was bought. As dawn approaches again, the cycle reboots. The lights that never went out seem to brighten imperceptibly. The first food carts rumble in the corridors. The electronic